I have a question concerning Psalms 37:23. Here the psalmist said, the steps of a good man are ordered of the Lord. And then it says, and he delighteth in them. And I'm not sure whether he's talking about the Lord having delight in seeing somebody follow the Lord, in other words, God guiding his steps, or whether it's the person who's the beneficiary of just walking step by step with God. So I said, well, either way works. It works. If you walk with God and you're hearing from God and you have that peace in your heart that you're being led by God, well, that's a good thing. But at the same time, if God looks down from heaven and he sees this human that is very mindful of the voice of God, and he's listening and he's tuned in, and when God speaks, he responds. Well, I think God would be pleased with that, so I say, well, it's a good concept either way you go it. But I talked about yesterday how that he talks about the good man, and how that in the New Testament Jesus said, if you call me good, you've got to call me God. And the contrast between the evil man that he talks about in verse 21 of chapter 37 of Psalms. And I talked about it. He was a man who would borrow money and not pay it back. He said, that's an evil man. That's the concept that God assigns that to. But then he said, the good man gives. In other words, a good man is generous. And I thought, wow. Because one thing that I know, and I've learned this just from life and observing life and reading the Scripture. The Scripture says that the love of money is the root of all evil. Now, that's a powerful statement when you think about it. But reality is simply this, is that people do love their money because you work hard for your money. And we become very attached to it. and we realize how quickly it can just disappear just taking care of the things of daily life. And so people get really caught up in their money. And so if there's somebody who has a heart of generosity, well, that's a heart that God has molded, that God has been a part of that. And he's taught us the concepts of give and you shall receive. In other words, when you invest in somebody else or invest in a kingdom in some way or another, then God's going to return the blessing to you. And that is a concept, that's a principle. And when a person understands the principle and applies it, then blessings are going to flow. And I speak for me personally, but I like blessings. I really do. I like blessings. I like it when blessings come my way. But I understand, to be able to walk in the blessing, there are principles. And this is why he says, a good man whose steps are ordered of the Lord, because he's come to a place where he realizes that money is just money. Obedience and hearing and walking in the voice of God is what is truly precious. This is Pastor Jack King with the gospel of the radio broadcast.